Hi, everybody. This is Mike, and today we're going to talk about the January position report. But first things first, like any successful podcast, we now have a sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by the Almond Man Almonds. That is almonds with an S. And you can find it at tamalmonds.com. Now back to the podcast. Today we're going to review the January position report. This is the 6th position report of the 24 crop year. And this is really timely as we're in the middle of bloom and most of the industry is headed to India and Dubai for the Miwa and Gulf Food Show. This report really is foundationally positive. Crop receipts so far through the crop year now are tapping out at basically 2.67 billion pounds. We expect very little to be received going forward. This is really below even what the objective estimate was of 2.8. So this is on the lower end of people's expectations, at least since July. As California has gotten into the crop through the hulling and shelling season, people's expectations continue to kind of decline off of that 2.8. So for some buyers out there, this may be a little bit shocking because this is now basically it. It's over. This is what we have to work with. Rejects are running at about 3% so far for the 24 crop year. Again, that's pretty much over as well. Last year, rejects were running just north of 4%. So the crop is marginally cleaner than last year, but still on the dirtier side of historical reject levels that we've seen. Shipments for the month of January were a little bit higher than some industry members were pontificating about. There had been about 210 million pounds as a predicted number, which is completely off base. We shipped 228 million pounds in the month of January. This is down about 3% from last year. Year-to-date shipments are still about flat on last year. The domestic market year-to-date is down about 1%, and the export markets are flat. Diving into some of the shipments that we saw in the month of January, we were really looking at India. India's been a market this year that's been kind of start and stop, paying premiums for in-shell. Sometimes there is no premium for in-shell. They were expecting anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 containers being shipped in the month of January. California shipped about 1,200 containers. I think now, though, that is almost a non-event. India's down about 18% year to date. We expect there still to be quite a bit more activity to develop out of that market. Sales for the month of January were just under 240 million pounds. It's the second best sales month that we've seen since about 2009 and probably the second best sales month ever. It was really led by the U.S. domestic market. So the U.S. domestic market at the end of December basically had 21% less sales on the book than they did the year prior. Coming into January, now they're only down 5% on the sales on the book. They bought about 91 million pounds in the month of January. This is an astronomically high number for the U.S. domestic market. You'd have to go back to September of 2019 to see anything even slightly north of 91 million pounds purchased. So the domestic market really took the opportunities that were presented to them in the month of January and really shored up their position to some degree. The export markets, however, kind of fell backwards. At the end of December, commitments on the book for export markets were down about 5%. Now at the end of January, the export markets commitments on the book are down about 14%. So their position has somewhat eroded in 30 days. So generally what we see is a very hand-to-mouth market still. Buyers are still trying to find prompt shipments, February shipments. And I think that will probably continue. We are now at the front end of bloom in California. There's been the talk of lack of bees. Adverse weather does seem to be on the horizon. We've seen some very cold temperatures throughout the state the last few days. It's probably a little early for it to have any real material effect on the actual crop size, but those weather events are probably going to continue to happen. So generally, the market, in our opinion, will have found some sort of a floor. In the month of January, we saw a lot of sloppiness in pricing from seller to seller. You could have seen discrepancies of 5 to 7 cents a pound on the same item. I think this report should shore that up to some degree and create more cohesiveness in California, and should start to then raise prices as we go forward. So kind of moving forward from here, we're all going to be watching sales in the month of February. So far, they've been relatively good. Probably should be better than last year's sales. And right now, we have basically enough commitments on the book in January to have a good performance for February shipments. Last year, February, the industry shipped about 221 million pounds. I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a little bit stronger than that for this year. So as this market develops, we'll continue to keep you posted. Thank you. This is Mike.